Hey everyone, it is Hunter Fireflower, and in today's video, I'll be doing a summary of Star Wars Dawn of the Jedi Prisoner of Bogan, number 3. So in this one, we're going to see what Xesh and Daegon Lok have in store for us, and we're going to obviously see some fighting, because on the cover here, we see Xesh fighting sek'nos, so let's see which one of them is going to fall. So, without further ado, let's begin. So we see a flashback over here to, I believe it's pronounced Inang. He's this person here, this hooded figure. He kind of looks like almost like an E.T. Palpatine or something. And he's part of the Qua people. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing all of this correct, obviously. But he's telling the story through this holocron, if I remember from the previous comic. And he's telling the story of how these infinity gates were scattered around different planets across the galaxy, and the Qua people were able to travel to different planets using these infinity gates, and they would come into contact with other sentient beings, and during their contact phase, they would basically share information and technologies together to basically help build civilizations. Master Nan then goes on to talk about how the Force was studied and used at this time as well, and that it was kind of like this entity that was still permeating the galaxy. Like the Force was always kind of a thing. It was always around even before the Jedi. Then Tasha shows Master Nan the skull of the Rakata that was at least recovered at the crash site on Typhon, and then Master Nan just says Rakata and then turns off the holocron. He's just like, he's got PTSD or something from the Rakata, and we'll find out later why. We then go to Krev Koryor, I believe I'm pronouncing that correct. They have these giant weird insect things that apparently just travel around the crystals, and we see Trill here fighting it. Trill uses the Force to push it up against some glass, and it is killed. And then we see Zana, Jake, sek'nos going through this like crystal cave, trying to see if they can find Daegon Lok and Xesh, and all of them are experiencing and sensing this form of dark energy. They think it's Xesh, but it actually might be Trill, and so they're going to investigate further because they believe Xesh and Daegon Lok might be in the crystal caves. We then see Daegon Lok and Xesh checking out these crystals with this, I'm not sure what race he is. He kind of looks like this strange tree. And Daegon Lok apparently knows him from like previous dealings. And this little tree guy is just like, whoa, like those are the very rare ones. Those are going to cost you more. You know, like this is not really a fair deal. You can tell he's kind of anxious and he's not happy in the situation. And apparently this tree guy owes Daegon Lok some favor or something, and he knows him from before the Depot Wars, so I'm assuming he's somehow involved with the Depot Wars, and Daegon Lok is basically cashing in on his debt. And we see Zana over here, and she's listening in on their conversation, and she gives Jake and sek'nos the coordinates of where they're located. And then we have the little tree guy saying, you know, Daegon Lok, you know, I could just tell the Jihadi where you are, and, you know, they'll come after you, you know, you should pay me extra for not, you know, telling you where you are. And then Daegon Lok's not taking any of it, and he's like, you know, listen, like, I'm the one making the rules here. And then he throws him off the crystal cave cliff thing. Then Daegon Lok's basically holding him hostage there right above the cliff, basically saying like, how do you feel now, big guy? Like, you know, I'm the one in charge here. And then Zana comes out, and she is going to try to arrest them, and she has her Durasteel blade out, ready to attack. Zana goes over, and Xesh is like, you know, I'm not going back to the moon, you can't make me! And then they start fighting, and Daegon Lok has the ability of, like, I guess you would call, like, manipulation and masterminding and making people see illusions that actually aren't there through the Force, and he's been doing this. It's like a darkside trait. And so he uses the Force to make it seem like Xana's on fire, and she starts to go crazy. I'm assuming like this is her biggest fear, is catching on fire. And then we see Daegon Lok and Xesh over here, and they're like, you know, they're just watching her like freak out. But for her, it's literally like living in hell. It's a nightmare for her. And Xesh just basically says, this is not really honorable. It's not a warrior's fight. You know, you're using mind tricks, which is kind of like, you know, that's not really good. And you can tell Xesh is very upset by Daegon Lok's use of the Force, of just manipulating people with their mind instead of actually fighting them physically. Jake and sek'nos then come over, they rush Daegon Lok and Xesh. Jake is fighting Daegon Lok, and we have sek'nos going against Xesh. Daegon Lok, the entire time he's fighting Jake, he's like, you're going to dance me into submission, because apparently Jake is a master of the arts, and arts as in like paintings and stuff like that and dancing, and he's not a martial arts master. Then we have Xesh going against sek'nos, and Xesh is basically telling sek'nos like, hey, you know, I spared you before, you know, I'll spare you again. Please leave. You're messing up my plan. And sek'nos is not having any of it, and he's basically saying, I'm taking you into Bogan, man. And then Xesh lashes out saying like, you know, I was a slave my whole life. The Jihadi want to make me a slave. I'm not going to be a slave anymore. sek'nos is just like, you know, it doesn't matter. You're going in. I'm going to take you down one way or another, and then they're fighting, as you can see here. Jake gets owned by Daegon Lok, and he is pretty much like going to be killed at this point. Daegon Lok definitely has the upper hand. Then Daegon Lok pushes Zana over the cliff, and sek'nos goes in to save her, and she is freaking out still. She still thinks she's on fire, and she's telling sek'nos, hey, let me go, stop, you know, I'm on fire, let me die, even though she's obviously not on fire. And then sek'nos eventually loses grip, and he uses the force to push Zana up to the edge of the cliff to safety with Jake. Meanwhile, sek'nos plummets to his death. And while sek'nos is falling and Jake and Zana are trying to like recover, Daegon Lok and Xesh run away. We then go over to Nox, where we see Rory and Shae over here, and they're trying to investigate to see if they can find someone that can build the hilt for them. And Nox is this planet of just mining facilities and toxic waste. Nox used to be a planet filled with tons of trees and water and stuff, but as people continued mining the planet started turning into this toxic atmosphere, and so now everyone lives in these dome type things where they have these filters so the air is actually breathable. And you see them over here chasing this like mutated thing and saving this child. And it's this strange looking tentacle, half dead looking thing. I don't even know how to describe this thing. It looks like a Cthulhu, like dead, undead thing. I don't know what it is. So Shae and Rory over here are going to try and save the child. And Hawk comes in just in time with the lightsaber or force saber, whatever you want to call it, to slew the beast and save the child. And then the child is ungrateful, and she's like, Jihadi, you're nasties, because this goes back to the Depot Wars. The people of Nox basically backed Queen Hadia, and they hate Jedi no matter what. They then receive a message from Jake and Zana basically saying that they found Daegon Lok and Xesh on the Crystal Planet, and how they are on Kalimar to fix up their wounds, and how no one is doing good. Jake then tells them that sek'nos fell to his death, and Shae begins to panic and saying, I can't feel him for the Force. Hawk is over here trying to comfort her, basically saying, you know, we have a mission to do, we have a job, you have to be present, we have to find Daegon Lok and Xesh so we can basically bring them to justice for sek'nos' death, as well as everything else that they have done. We're back on Krev Corps, and we see Trill over here talking to this droid, and the droid is fixing up her ship, and she has sek'nos with her. Trill is bandaging up sek'nos, and she is talking to herself about how sek'nos is going to be her key into the Jihadi order, and how he is going to be her guide into basically learning about the system so that she can report back to her masters, the Rakata. sek'nos wakes up and he's like, where am I? Where am I? And then Trill introduces herself and basically lays him back down to rest. sek'nos then asks Trill what she is, and she's like, oh, I'm just a fortune hunter, you know, I go around catching stuff, you know, I go and buy and sell stuff. And then he's like, oh, you're a thief? And she's like, no, I'm not a thief. She's like, I'm borrowing this spaceship, you know, but I caught you and you know, saved you type of thing. And then sek'nos kind of goes back into his subconscious mind. It's like, oh yeah, I kind of remember you. I was falling to my death off the ledge off the cliff, and then I used the force to jump onto your ship, and then he basically, I guess, got passed out or something, and then she brought him in and bandaged him up and saved him. Then you can kind of tell that sek'nos is kind of like, he's into Trill a little bit, because she's like touching his chest over here, and he's like, yeah, girl. And then he realizes like, oh no, I have to tell my friends that I'm still alive. They're probably freaking out about me. Trill then says, oh, we have to leave the planet because the comms are all messed up with all the crystals, and so they're going to leave the planet and meet up with the rest of the Jihadi journeyers as well as the Rangers. We then go to Nox at Gratz's foundry. This is in the outskirts of the boneyard, and we see Daegon Lok over here. Daegon Lok put the owner of the forge in this kind of mind lock where the guy believes that if he moves at all, these like monsters are going to come eat him. So he's just literally sitting there, like not making a sound, not moving, while Xesh is making the force saber using this kind of conduit looking thing. He's got his little goggles on, you know, and he's putting together the hilt as well as the color crystals and everything to set up the force saber. He gives it to Daegon Lok, which he uses it instantly, and you can tell that Xesh is kind of apprehensive and worried about what Daegon Lok's gonna do. You can tell he's not very trustworthy of Daegon Lok, because Daegon Lok was saying, oh, we're going to do this vision thing, following my vision, and Xesh is asking what is next in the vision. And then Xesh says, like, oh, aren't you going to show the Jihadi to show them that the vision's true? And Dagon's like, no, I'm not going to show the Jihadi. I'm going to do more than that. I'm going to bring them an army, and they'll have no excuse but to accept that his vision's true. So this entire time, Daegon Lok was trying to make his vision come true in some regard, and now he's going to somehow make an army to prove to the Jedi that he was right. Is he going to attack the Jedi? I don't know. Is he going to attack the Jedi? Is he going to put an end to them so he could be the ruler of the new Jedi Order? I don't know. So we'll find out in the next comic. But anyways, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you liked the video. If you liked it, please leave a like and a comment of what you liked about the video. Or if you want to see similar content or more content like this, leave a comment of what you want to see next. I do make other videos from different timelines, whether that be Legends or canon. I make Rise of the Kylo Ren comic series is out, Darth Vader, and I'm also thinking about doing Dr. Aphra, so make sure you subscribe for that type of content and look out for those videos as well. But anyways, guys, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Stay frosty.